The way I want to do this, at least for the blessings, is we'll read through one blessing, talk about what that blessing means, then move on to the next one, like that. Instead of reading through all of them, forgetting what was talked about, and then having to go back. Make sense? All right. Who wants to go first? All right.
Everyone who draws the seashore will provide a landing place for ships. The water will stand to the side.
So, what's this saying? Seafarer, merchant. Where's Sidon? North, if you can picture Israel in your head, just northwest of there is where Sidon is. You'll hear a lot about Tyre and Sidon. Any idea? You'll hear about them in the prophets as enemies of Israel. They were, if I'm remembering correctly, Phoenicians who set up a colony there and fought with the Israelites a fair amount. All right, Issachar.
Issachar is a strong-boned donkey lying down between the saddlebags. He saw a resting place that was good. He saw land that was pleasant. He bowed his shoulder under the burden and began to slave during forced labor.
All right. So what do we know about Issachar?
He likes to be lazy. And that's what happened to him. He ended up being a slave. People were all forced to do stuff for other people. Issachar is a strong-boned donkey lying down between the saddlebags. And everybody else is looking and tries to stay hidden, maybe? I don't know, I guess.
No, you're not far off.
Do you like it? So that doing it, and that's what happens. People become slaves.
Well, think about it. What do you know about nice plots of land in the world? Fertile, sure. Because they're fertile, people. Exactly. Fight over that. If you got good land, people are going to want your good land. And if you won't give it to them, they'll try to come take it. Not always the case, hasn't been the case here for a while. Not war, at least. Legal dealings are another ugly thing I don't know much about. But they looked around and said, this looks like a good place. Other people noticed, and they were eventually conquered and enslaved. Okay, how about Dan?
Dan will judge his people as well as the religion. Dan will be a snake in the way, a viper in the path. The bites the horse's heel so that its head cannot flatten. And the greatest rule is salvation, and the greatest.
Okay. You're getting into, if you want to take Gad too, you're allowed to. So what can you tell me about Dan? Kind of confusing one, isn't it?
This is ruthless. Shows us people that
Yeah, this is, a lot of these blessings are relatively easy to interpret given the benefit of the historical context we have. But this one is a little more difficult, isn't it? How well did you guys memorize your maps in Sunday school?
how well we memorize in that.
Well, since you taught Sunday school,
But I can't remember that.
well, can you picture the nation of Israel? Roughly? The northeast tip was where the tribe of Dan got their ascent. If they were in the northeast, what do you suppose that meant for that? Thinking about the history of the children of Israel.
Did they fall away?
Well, most of the northern tribes eventually ended up falling away. They also were in the path of literally every invasion that came from the north, and most of the invasions came from the north, from the Assyrians, from the other people of the north, the Arameans, the Persians were coming from the east, so with them later. The northern tribes didn't exist, and the Persians didn't know. And the tribe of Dan was meddlesome for the people who came and invaded. They were also kind of pain in the butt for the people of Israel. One of the most interesting things about Dan is, and you've heard me say this before, you'll hear me say it about 1,000 more times between now and whenever you don't hear me talk anymore. Every time science has disagreed with the Bible, science has been proven wrong. One of the more striking accounts was archaeologists contended for years that King David never existed. That King David wasn't real, that he was an artifact of history, much of the way Achilles or Helen of Troy, people like that, probably never existed. Or at least didn't exist in the way they've been lionized today. However, in the ancient city of Dan, pottery shards were found extolling the virtues of the great King David that date back from the time of David, and further confirms to archaeologists that they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, Bonnie was super excited to read it, but I think we'll let Dee take Gad.
Raiders will attack Gad, but we will attack the heathen.
I should have looked this up, but I didn't. but I'm roughly 80% certain Gad was one of the tribes that settled on the east end of the Jordan River. Does that sound correct to you? Let's go with it. From Jacob? Yeah, I think that was just him saying,
All the stuff that we does and all that great.
yeah. How many positive blessings have we seen so far? Caitlin, you gotta speak louder. She said one for those who couldn't hear. One, we have seen one blessing that's literally a blessing. Jacob was looking into the future, prophesying. And what he saw was ugly. There's a reason for that. What was coming was ugly. His children, most of them, would turn to idols. Most of them would fall away, and most of them would no longer be extant anymore. The people we think of as Jews now are from 2.5 tribes. Because most of the other Jews lost their Jewishness thousands of years ago by being carried away into captivity by the Assyrians, by being intermixed with whomever the Assyrians brought in to the land of Samaria. We have lost 9.5 tribes. And Jacob had to see that coming down the road. It wasn't for people that understood it. Okay, Asher. We're up to me, aren't we? Asher's food will be rich. He will produce delicacies fit for a king. Hey, we get a nice one. Asher's going to make some good food. Mainly cheese curds. Because there is no higher delicacy. Especially the sweet ones that you eat on your honeymoon. Not this one. All right, Naphtali.
One of the bills at 3 that there is even.
The Very Beautiful Lawns thing, does it really need explanation, does it? Well, what's a dose at 3? I'm asking because I don't know. I don't understand the metaphor. Yeah, I'm guessing there's a bit of a wildness, a bit of a, what we would call charitably and free-spiritedness to the people of Naphtali. Less charitably, well, we can come up with the descriptors of it. That's my guess. All right, Joseph. Rhonda. You did?
It's my.
Oh, no, that is your, sorry, Rhonda. Go ahead, Rachel.
Joseph is a fruitful vine by a spring. Its branches run over the wall. The archers had fiercely attacked him. They shot at him and harassed him, but his bow remained steady. His arms and hands remained strong by the hands of the mighty one of David, by the name of the shepherd, the stone of Israel. By the God of your father who will help you, by the Almighty who will bless you. With blessings from heaven above, blessings from the deep that lies below, blessings from the breast and from the womb. The blessings of your father are greater than the blessings of my parents, greater than the treasures of the ancient hills. They will rest on the head of Joseph, on the forehead of him who is elevated above his brother.
Shocking. Jacob gives his strongest blessing to his favorite son, the one who was ripped away from him and now is back. I mean, the only other set of blessings that compare to these are Judah's. And Judah gets in line with the Savior. But Joseph, there's nothing particularly spiritual in these blessings, is there? For Joseph? Yes, exactly. There's a lot of earthly blessings in here. Nothing particularly spiritual at all. And that tracks. Because Joseph gets two tribes. Issachar and Manasseh. Ephraim, thank you. Ephraim and Manasseh. Sorry guys, my brain is foggy. And having doubled the tribes of his brothers, he gets more physical blessings. But Ephraim and Manasseh were two of the tribes that fell. The tribes that fell into idolatry and then fell into the Assyrians. We can wrap it up with Benjamin unless there's any questions. When you're probably have your sheets so if you have questions.
I was just looking at this list of, in Revelation chapter 7,
Oh, okay.
and the order is completely different. Judah comes first, Dan isn't even mentioned. I don't know, I don't understand it.
Well, Levi's also mentioned.
And the order is changed, Judah's first. And Revelation.
And there's something in that, something I haven't researched for today. If you'd like me to, I could look into it this week and we can talk more about it next week. But Judah being listed first probably makes sense since the Savior came through him. The rest of them, like I said, I haven't looked into this, but in general, it's good advice not to put too much literal stock into anything in the book of Revelation because it's all meant prophetically, which means there's a lot of pictures in that. I'll look into, because I remember talking about it at the seminary, but geez, that was 13 years ago. I'll have something for you next week before we start. That work for you? Okay. Benjamin?
Benjamin is a rabbit, the redneck book, and when he was without a play, leaving him behind his blood.
And they were the fiercest warriors in Israel came from Benjamin.
When they were talking about somebody, there's some rocks, or, I don't remember what he was doing, but then they said it was in Benjamites.
Yep, they're just tough sons of guns. They're fighting, and Shibboleth, or Sibboleth. That was either used by the Benjamites against their cousins, or used by their cousins against the Benjamites, forgetting
The front, and then something to do with the way they
Yeah.
pronounce the word,
like, I'll occasionally get accused of having an accent around here. That's wrong. I talk right. Everyone else has the accent. Been accused of being from Canada, and I've been accused of being a Southerner. Just depends on where you live, where you're at. People in North Carolina thought I was from Canada. People in England's hometown thought I was a Southerner. And I told them where I was from, and they said, yeah, South. Because, Milwaukee, basically the same thing. All right, anything on these blessings other than they're mainly a little depressing? The history of the nation of Israel is mainly depressing, so it tracks. All right, who's up? All right, could you finish up 49 for us?
All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what the Father spoke to them when he blessed them. He blessed each one with the appropriate blessing. He instructed them, he said to them, I am going to be gathered to my people, burying my fathers in the cave that is in the field, and Ephraim and Zidon, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is in Ramah in the last days. And was Abraham purchased along with the field of Ephraim and Zidon as a burial place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife. And there I buried Leah. The field and the cave that is in it was purchased from the descendants of Heth.
When Jacob finished instructing his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed, breathed his last breath, and was gathered to his people. Joseph put his face against his father's face, wept over him, and kissed him. Joseph commanded the physicians who served him to embalm his father, so the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were set aside for him, for that is how many days it takes to embalm. The Egyptians mourned for him for 70 days. When the days of mourning for Jacob were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh. He said, if now I have found favor in your eyes, please speak directly to Pharaoh for me, and say that my father made me take an oath. He said to me, look, I am dying. Bury me in my tomb that I have dug for myself in the land of Canaan. Now therefore please let me go up and bury my father, and I will return here. Pharaoh said, go up and bury your father, just as he made you swear to do. Joseph went up to bury his father, and all the officials of Pharaoh went up with him. The senior officials of Pharaoh's household, all the elders of the land of Egypt, all the household of Joseph, his brothers, and his father's household. Only their little ones, their flocks, and their herds were left in the land of Goshen. Both chariots and horsemen went with him. It was a very great entourage.
We think of this expression for being that this is on the other side of the Jordan, and the other one is the other side of the Jordan. Joseph went and his father 7 days. When the inhabitants of the land between Exodus and the version of the Egypt said, this is a very solemn moment by the Egyptians. And gathering in the place Israel through them, it is beyond Jordan. The sons did for him just what the command of Exodus. They carried him to the land of Canaan, buried him in the field. The Abraham purchased a land of field. The purchaser from the field. After the married his father, Joseph returned to he and his brothers, and all who had known other things.
Joseph and his brothers. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, it may be that Joseph will hate us and will pay us back in full for all the evil that we did him. They sent the following message to Joseph. Before he died, your father commanded us to tell Joseph, please forgive the offense of your brothers and their sin, because they did evil to you. Now please forgive the offense of the servants of the God of your father. Joseph wept when they spoke to him. His brothers also came and fell down in front of him, and they said, see now, we are your servants. Joseph said to them, do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring this to pass and to keep many people alive, as it is to this day. Now therefore, do not be afraid. I will nourish you and your little ones. He comforted them and spoke to them in a kind way.
The death of Joseph lived in Egypt, he and his brothers household. Joseph lived 110 years. He saw Ephraim's children before generation. The children also Nathan, the son of Manasseh, who were placed on Joseph's knees when they were born. Joseph said to his brothers, I am dying, but God will surely visit you, and bring him up all the sons to the land of his servant Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Joseph made the descendants of Israel forever. He said, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry my bones up from here. So Joseph died when he was 100 years old, and he had long hair, and he was put in his coffin.
All right. Any questions on any of what we just read? Pretty straightforward.
Since Isaac was buried, he was embalmed. Or Jacob was embalmed. And then he was taken to David Macphail. I always wonder if someday, the way archaeologists dig around, if they'll ever find that there and maybe see what looks like an Egyptian sarcophagus.
I wondered the same thing myself.
I asked,
But, yeah, it's presuming the cave still exists. There's a lot of seismographic events that take place in the area.
is that where Joseph was buried too? They put his bones there.
I believe so.
And the children of Israel left.
He was taken with them and he was buried in the building. I'm trying to remember if they buried him, or took him in the Ark of the Covenant. Nope, that's not, I don't know why I thought. Yeah, that's why I thought that, because he was in the Ark of the Covenant for a while. So they had a final resting place. Because the Ark was made before they got into Israel. And they put Joseph's bones in there. For a while, didn't they? I am not thinking Indiana Jones,
No,
Joseph
I
doesn't
don't
come in.
think so, I think they took his,
Am I
They took
losing,
the
am
arch.
I losing my mind right now?
they took his body. And I don't think it was in the ark. What was in the ark was
The covenant,
Aaron's staff,
Aaron's staff,
yeah.
why would I think that? Clearly. I am off. Okay. What do you find the most striking in the first part of chapter 20? Or chapter 50? I was surprised they involved him like an Egyptian. Also, how long did the entire nation mourn for Jacob? 70 days. The father of the ruler dies, and the entire country mourns for Israel. 70 days. That's stunning, isn't it? Shows just how much power, just how much influence Israel or Joseph had. $70, that's over 2 months. 70 days is over 2 months. No one mourned for me that long. Maybe give me 15 minutes on Sunday or something. So Joseph's brothers were worried again. Why?
Maybe it was like, he's probably being nice to us for that, so. They didn't.
They really suspected Joseph played a long game. I'll just wait till the old man dies, then I'll crush him. So what was Joseph's final wish? Why was that so important to Jacob and Joseph? They wanted to be what God had promised to do. All right. Anything further on any of this? Ready to talk about Luther next time? Whenever you get all excited at once. These 2000 bring that sermon this afternoon.
Don't worry, we'll take the microphone away if you start speaking gibberish.
Start. You ever have a day where you're just perfectly unhappy with it? No, never. You're always on.
I'm off right now.
Hey, Dave.